Yalla, yalla, you sugar sucking morons. Sometimes or I'm slow, sometimes or I'm quick. I'm slicker and sweeter than a Chico stick. Here's an ice cream cone. RBV, take a lick, pal. And we're back here on the Monday locker room. That's right, lighting it up with my man RBV back in the saddle with HMG. Glad to be here, infidels. It's Monday. Let's do this. Yalla. Yeah, man, back at it. Had a lot of specters and ghosts and crazy clowns and psychopaths all on my front porch last night, and that was just my immediate family. But we had a lot of good times, man. Throwing candy at little kids and making them step in piles of dogs of war dog shit on the front lawn. It was a good time for everybody last night, even though the weather was sketchy as always. But yeah, man, hopefully you guys had a safe and happy Hamin and we're out there crushing infidels and crushing candy and throwing your eggs and toilet paper and just raising hell all over the place because that's the night to do it. And my Hellraiser, my main man, he's back in the saddle again. RBV, good to be back with you, pal.
Man, I got to tell you, man, I missed those opens. I had a brief break there, man, and there was so much each week. You know, I'd sit down like, okay, I got the opportunity. I'm going to be back on. Unfortunately, some different things came up, some health issues in the family and babysitting. And then last week, hey, you're talking, it was not ideal weather up there for you for Halloween. Our last week was hellacious down here. I mean, storms had our internet out left and right. But hey, our Halloween was great. It was probably the best weather that we've had in this area for Halloween in a long, long time. People sitting outside in their driveways and shorts and T-shirts handing out candy. Wow. But overnight, it swerved on us again. So we've dipped back down into the cooler weather. Fall has settled in. But yeah, man. So I thought we'd get things going, a little Halloween fallout. So it looked like you had the porch decorated up and trick-or-treaters coming by. I guess we'll jump into it with how many kids do you have come by, and what do you hand out at the compound?
Well, anthrax mainly, but yeah, no, it varies depending on the weather, and it was semi shitty here. So we had the little ones start coming around 5 o'clock in groups with their parents, you know, and it goes to about 8:30 at night, but not a ton back in you know, the part where we live, probably 30, 35. So nothing too crazy. Like when I was a kid in my parents' mansion, there'd be like right on Main Street, 180, 200 kids, you know what I mean? So where we are, it's kind of just the kids of the neighborhood within about 6 or 7 blocks. So not too bad. And the dogs of war love it, especially the Boz Master. It's his favorite. He's got a little skeleton CM Punk shirt, and he knows the day of the year. Like usually he's half chicken shit, but he loves like getting out there just to yell and like scare people and show off. So it's a strange thing. I think he just knows the scent of his costume and that it's time to have fun. He totally changes on that day. So it's one of my favorite things to see Boz go crazy. And 13 Halloweens for little man. So
wow.
You know, yeah, I'm real happy, man, that he had a good time yesterday, and the other dogs could give a shit about it. But everybody likes to watch them dress up, and the wives love dressing in costume and decorating the house, make it all scary and whatnot. And we get, you know, a lot of comments and compliments on it, like your house is the scariest one on the block, and da da da. I go, well, you should see the basement if you think the porch is scary. So.
we had over at my mom and my stepdad's. They used to do like the whole haunted house thing.
Yeah.
You had to kind of enter through and then you get the candy at the end. But I guess my stepdad went, I think he was fine, but you know, the culture and all that, he freaked out too many kids. So they made him shut it down. So now it's just handing out candy in the driveway. But what's the candy of choice there at the compound that you hand out?
We don't short them. You know what kids like, Snickers, blow pops, things that nerds, things along those lines, Kit Kats. So, you know, you definitely don't want to be the house that's handing out root beer barrels or whatever the frig. So,
hey, I like those things.
Oh, shit, terrible. Or Necco wafers. I mean, you know, everyone's got their favorites, but because we don't get a ton of kids, we're not afraid to get the better stuff. If I was getting 250 kids, you'd all be getting banana Laffy Taffy, you fuckers.
You'd be getting business cards to Channel Attitude.
That's right.
Over. It is kind of weird. Like you say that you get around 30, 40 kids. That's
Mhm.
where I'm at. Now, my sister, she lives out in Indiana, and what's funny out there is because it's so rural. Where she's at is really the little town, so you got all of these surrounding areas come into the town. So she gets hit with
Sure.
up to like the 200 of them. But I remember even across the board back in our day, man, everywhere there was. It seemed like there was hundreds of kids, and you just didn't hit a neighborhood or two. I mean,
Oh,
you were hustling all
yeah.
night to hit as many as you possibly could. I remember, getting up to 5 or 6 neighborhoods in.
Yeah, in my small hometown where I grew up, it's pretty easy because it's like cordoned off into like 6 different like 12, 14 block areas. So if you were ready to put in the legwork, you could clean house. There's no doubt about it. If you started early, you could go right till 9 and bang on. And then it was always awesome when as junior high and high school because there'd be like these huge gang wars for egg fights and shaving cream. And like you turn the corner and you'd have your crew of like 10, and then you
Let's
see
go.
140 people turn the corner. You're like, run! And they're chasing you down the street, until you join up with them and find another unsuspecting group of 10 you can mob up on. So, just a little old school chase the infidel Taliban game we like to play. And that was always a good time. Super safe, you know what I mean? And nobody really doing anything too goddamn crazy or dangerous. But yeah, the where the city I live in now is a bit larger, and you're just not going to see that kind of stuff, especially with pandemic. People got candy chutes to fucking slide the candy down the railing instead of giving it to a kid and shit. Just like all this bullshit that has taken they take the fun out of everything. They're like everything has to be watered down and has to be for every little scared. Oh, we can't do that because that's going to scare somebody. Fuck that kid. He needs to get shook up in their life, or else take him out of the game. The game don't change for them. We don't make special rules. So, if you can't hack it there, you're gonna have a tough time making it through the rest of your fucking life. So,
Yeah, I did a pro wrestling 101 this weekend with Paz, and we were talking about kind of Halloween shenanigans. I was shocked to find out that he was quite the troublemaker in his day. He said, especially around Halloween, I guess they have something out there called Havoc Night in Jersey or something like that, or Mischief Night.
yeah, yeah.
And he said he was regularly getting in trouble for something like that. It kind of shocked me from
Always-
the
It's
common
always the quiet
cool that
ones.
we
It's
know
always,
today.
it's always the quiet ones you got to watch out for, right? Yeah, JP out there raising hell.
Now, for Hamin, what is your personal choice? What is your I guess a two-part here. Your favorite Halloween treats, and then maybe the most unique that you've ever received while in your trick-or-treating days.
I do remember there was one older couple, husband and wife, that they had the money. They did because they didn't travel anywhere, but they would hand out full size candy bars and sometimes even king size ones, man, not fun size. So the dude would always hand out full size paydays. That was always money for like, but then like every that word we got out and you just see like 30 kids coming to do whatever. So to make sure that they just turn their porch light off early. So you could always clean up from the Robinsons back in the day. Everyone like the Robinsons got full size candy bars, bro. No way. Go all the way across town to make it there. So that was always like the big thing. And then what was the other
Well,
one?
like your personal favorite, your choice.
It's tough because I have a sweet tooth for sugar, so like I like stuff like Sour Patch Kids and what do you call the straw? Fucking Pixie Sticks, like straight hits of sugar to the head. But then obviously anything that is chocolate and caramel too, from Milk Duds to Snickers, I'm a mark for as well. So try not to eat too much of it. I snuck a couple pieces of ours last night, but yeah, man, those are probably my favorites. If you're giving out like Necco wafers, like you should just be shot in the streets, really. So I don't have an aversion to Smarties and things like that, but I like really sour stuff or basic chocolate caramel and nuts in your mouth.
The best one that well, not even maybe, hands down, the best treat that I've ever received while trick or treating was the last time I went. So it would have been like 7th or 8th grade for me. and we had like the worst costumes on. We were like at a party, and we're like, "Yeah, let's go trick or treat." This blah blah blah. So they had this thing. They were waiting for older kids to show up. They didn't give us candy. They had it too. I think they had the whole bars, but they were like, "You guys are too old." They gave us KFC mashed potatoes and gravy. And it wasn't the singles, and they didn't give you the sport to go with it. They actually scooped it out of one of the family size ones and put it in your hand. Dude, and I'm not shitting you. We went back and hit that house 3 or 4 times just to go get more mashed potatoes and gravy.
Some biscuits and some other sides, see what they had.
It was the best treat I've ever gotten trick or treating.
It's more of a trick than it is a treat, handing a kid a scoop of fucking mashed potatoes. I'm sure some kids weren't as into it. I'm like, what the fuck? Hold on, I'll get the gravy.
Well, in later years, it would turn around on him because his daughter would turn into quite the trick. But
yeah, well,
yeah.
I mean, go around back, you could have had that too. So yeah, dude. But Halloween, definitely my favorite holiday. Thanksgiving probably follows that up, and because I'm not big into any religious, I mean, I guess this is a anti or satanic holiday, but the Christmas marketing and all the fucking songs and all that bullshit I'm not into, and then Easter is the biggest lie that ever happened.
Well, I think Halloween, especially for the world of pro wrestling, because what is pro wrestling but a year-round Halloween?
Sure.
So that I kind of. Yeah, I did a sample group. I went across the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, checked a few other, just sites and things like that. And I wanted to see kind of what the wrestling world, the talents in the ring, to the fans, how they were going out for Halloween and who they were dressing as. What really hit me, and I probably ended up counting right around like 127 to 130 different people. And only right around a dozen were current stars that you would see on regular television.
Okay.
And that really jumped out to me. What we've been yelling at is they're not creating stars.
Well, they're not creating characters that people want to emulate. So of those 130, probably 80 of them were Macho Man.
Macho Man, hands down, the leader.
10 were probably Ric Flair or Hogan. And
Hogan
then
and Flair were there.
And then the rest, if you're talking who you want to emulate, it's probably Danhausen.
I didn't see any of those in my group.
Yeah, I did. I saw a couple Danhausens online. And, because there is no character that is going to be recognizable or that people want to live vicariously through. Everyone just acts like a fucking either a douche that's not believable that nobody wants to be, or you're this just generic wrestler number 4 who does flips. Like, oh, okay. So really, unless you're going to get a sword and a kilt and walk around with your shirt off and be Drew, like no one's really going to recognize that. They're going to go, oh, you're Highlander instead, So I think what you're saying there speaks volumes of there's nobody iconic right now. Iconic of what to be. Did you see Shiloh and his ladies?
I have that one kind of marked as one of my favorites.
Yeah.
There's the Truth Magnum and him and Shiloh. I don't know what the relation is. Shiloh and his lady friend there. They went as the Natural Disasters. It was
really great costumes. Here it is.
I was gonna say, if you have it, I think I've got it as well.
I got it right here. So
yeah, that was one of the better ones. The Outrunners working that show is the Mega Runners. They did an incredible job the other day.
Yeah. We really didn't do anything Halloween themed at Immortal this weekend. We didn't have a costume competition or anything in Troy. It was a great show on the 30th. But yeah, man, I've been a part of some really great ones at OVW. Al Snow loves Halloween, probably above all. Well, I don't know. He likes A Christmas Story too. That's his favorite movie. So, but it was always a fun thing to do there at the Halloween show where everybody dresses up. That's always a OVW tradition. And I thought NXT did a great job with Halloween Havoc, except for that opener girls match where they almost all died in the ladder. So that was crazy. But they did like these group scenes Halloween party, and not an easy thing to do with the Goodfellas Copacabana shot where you walk around the room in a group scene with 14 people and you have to have, okay, you got 3 lines to get your business over, and then we got to move on to the next one and the next one until we get to the punchline. And they did a great job with it. They really did. So I was impressed with that because that's not an easy thing to pull off and make it still fun. AEW didn't really do much in the way of Halloween. They had the trick or treat thing with the girls, but I didn't get to see that with Abaddon and DMD. I heard it was a pretty bad botch fest, unfortunately. And I like both those girls, so
I don't know. With me, with Abaddon, you can't spell bad. You can't spell Abaddon without bad in there. It was something in that match that they just couldn't find the flow. They were working really hard. And I mean, really, the only person that got over that was the table. Not a person, but the only item.
Really?
Man, it would not budge for him.
That's too bad because I wanted her to succeed and I like her because her character is one that someone could dress like and be super scary, and get over. And then I thought SmackDown did I can't believe I'm saying this, but in their trick or treat thing that they probably heard booked from AEW and made their own with the douchebags, Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin versus who was it they were against off the top?
Knock and
Boogs. I thought it was good with the pumpkin stuff and the candy corn kendo sticks, and it went on, and it was a pretty serious match, and I mean serious as having pumpkins around the ring and shit, but I was like, damn, they put Dewey Foley to work carving pumpkins. That motherfucker must have carved about 60 pumpkins that day for that scene, bro. And it was fun. It was more than what any other show had kind of done. And the stuff with Chucky back on NXT was really good too, how they tied in Scott Steiner references from 20 years ago, and also and forgive me, I don't know these gentlemen's names, Carmelo Gimmick and his tag team partner. They went to like a haunted house thing, and it was Sam Shaw and Gargano were running it, and it was shot, you can just tell, by Paradise Jimmy and what's his name from Impact?
Borash.
Jeremy Borash, thank you. The brilliant minds that brought you the Broken Universe seemed bored and were like, yeah, we don't have something. We'll take these guys and do something fun and outshine everything that was on every wrestling show. This again shows that we can look through wrestling through any color lens, cinematic, as long as our characters play to the height of their intelligence and make the scene believable and it does business. It was a great scene on NXT, and I'm thinking to myself, how in the fuck do we have this going on in developmental, and on Raw and SmackDown we just cut to the back and they're standing in front of some beer lugs or a lighting truss cutting a shitty promo that is written by a 75-year-old and gives words to these cool 20 to 30 somethings that they would never say. Completely not believable, and we can't even leave to go do something cinematic for our main roster stars. But in developmental, we're killing it with movie level production. But main shows that their ratings are dropping every week, fuck that. Let's cut the girls in the back staring at the screen. Oh, who's going to be women's #1 contender? Who gives a fuck? Entertain me.
And they're not even looking at the screen. They're all facing towards the camera. Or looking at each other.
Your lazy ass and bring in the producers and stop shredding the script at 2 p.m, because you'll never be able to get those highly produced, entertaining pieces that have people talking when you're just throwing matches together at 4 p.m. or making your main event in the opening segment. Like that type of shit is asinine, and it really shows how disconnected WWE is when your developmental is 10 times the show than your SmackDown and Raw show was this week. That's a problem. They got to address it.
Where's the disconnect there? Because I mean, for everything we've heard with the 2.0 is NXT was going to come under the more of the watchful eye of Vince and
it
Bruce.
Hasn't. That's why you can tell it hasn't.
So that's really just lip service. Maybe that lasted for a hot minute. He came down, put a new coat of paint on it. Did what I don't know, whatever they did real quick, and then they've already moved on from that, so they're already back focused on the red and blue. And
Yes, bro. I've got inside intel that says this guy doesn't remember what happened last week. His writing room and writing staff on whatever day they decide to do it, when they're going to put the show together, they have to remind him what he came up with last week. He doesn't know. I think his dementia and Alzheimer's is being kayfabed at a high level. And one week he might want to take over NXT, and then the next week he forgot that he even fucking said that.
Really?
Yes.
I
really.
mean, it really, if you look at kind of the direction or the redirection of the brand, they're getting back to a lot of those basics, and you can tell they're having a lot more fun. Just that the production is tremendous. It is probably, arguably the best wrestling show that we're getting on that kind of level. And it is coming out of, supposedly the biggest company or the biggest company in the world, their supposed development system, which is embarrassing.
Well, the show feels like developmental again. It feels like OVW to me, as opposed to what they were trying to do when they were getting beat down and saying we're the third brand, the yellow brand. Oh, are you? Well, we're gonna cut 14 of you. Okay. That reality comes to play. The only thing I didn't like on that NXT Halloween show was having Ciampa go over on Steiner. I thought that was a bad mistake booking wise, because Ciampa's made. He doesn't need a win over Steiner. Steiner beating Ciampa says something. You know what I mean? Now he got all the way to get to that match, lost clean. Now he's got to start over again. Like that was a mistake. Ciampa could have taken that loss. It wouldn't have hurt him at all. And put him over there was a bad booking decision.
I was kind of thinking, it would be kind of good across the board there. Ciampa puts him over. I mean, the Steiner kid, Breaker, I mean, he's got it. And he's already there. He's got those intangibles you can't teach. He's got that charisma. People are gravitating towards him. I thought Ciampa was going to put him over, and then Ciampa would show up on Friday or even tonight on Raw to kind of give him a very much needed B12 shot to those brands.
But is Ciampa going to move the needle? I don't know, man. Like I
think it's one of those small little wins for you where it's not an immediate major move, but it does create a much needed buzz within the bubble where people start talking and saying, hey, just even it's a little bit at a time. And right now we're looking at growing the business, and that's the biggest issue. I mean, we're continuing to shrink. So even those little steps right now are going to help. People get excited. Hey, if you're watching Monday Night Football, tune into Raw. You got to watch this guy. This guy is something exciting. And if you could just slowly start growing that, because we're in a bad state right now across the board in professional wrestling, where this bubble is just continuing to shrink.
Right. See, to me, I agree with all that you said there. And I mean, Ciampa's my dude, man. I'm not trying to shit on the guy, be like, he ain't going to move the needle. You could dream bookings with him and Drew, and like having him show up as like a Lionheart who's ready to take loss or win, but give it his all. You can get him over. He can get himself over. He knows exactly what he's doing. But that would have been a big win for Braun Breaker. And then I would have actually had something pre-taped where Chucky attacks Braun Breaker as soon as he goes through the back. And like, even though we're taking away from the win and doing wrestle crap comedy, that's what we need, is for Braun Breaker to punt Chucky at the end. You just see a Chucky flying through the air, you know what I mean, and lands in a fucking dumpster or some shit like that. So Braun Breaker's up at the end. But like we need like, they told that story, but we didn't get the payoff kind of towards the end. We got a lot of funny references from WCW. I thought it worked, but there was more to close that fun fantasy show with, dude. So, interesting, dude. And I don't know, like that group scene, just, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm like, dude, Breezango should be in that scene. You know what I mean? Like when everybody's doing that kind of stuff, that's where those guys shine the brightest. And it just makes me, and all the creative ideas we come up with every week here at HMG and Russo brand, but I would have loved to have seen, and this angle hasn't been done, the ribbing of getting fired, I think, is something that those guys could have taken to a next level of future endeavorment. And every time somebody tries to, hey, Triple H is looking for you, boom, they're gone. They're under the ring. And they're out at their car getting away. Anytime a 203 number calls the phone, they fabe it. You know what I mean? Like anytime that they're about to get fired, they find a way out of it for 90 days. Like give them their 90 days, but let's play it out. And the whole them leaving, those guys were there for so long and did so much business for everybody else. That character thing for them on the way out would have been great, sending them in out of the indies, but the WWE doesn't give a fuck about your success after you leave. And they don't want to give you a chance to get over on your way out because that'll make them look bad for firing you. But even if it wasn't a fake thing, that I think would have been great as veterans who went back to NXT and are still trying to avoid getting clipped. There's so much there to play out that would have been excellent. And even if they were both gone, you could have put them both in this scene for a one night only in costume and had them get exposed and be like, you guys don't work here anymore. And I bet they would have done business, man. You know, like there's a lot of little things character wise that are winks to the insiders that they could be doing there that would really make nice little moments for everybody.
Oh, see, now you got me thinking that would be the perfect like advertising opportunity for like a LinkedIn or an Indeed or one of those hot job sites.
Sure.
Where you've got those guys, constantly looking at it. Or you said that they're hiding at catering with those fake mustaches or something.
Yeah, all that shit, bro.
It's overly cheesy. With the Halloween episodes, and you said they didn't go over the top with them like we've seen in the past. And as we head into the holiday season, we're going to get ready for a ton of food fights, and it's just a part of what's coming ahead. It's the same old course. But you're laying out some good ideas, Ben. Now you got so many of these. I don't even want to call them purists because to me they don't really see the whole scope of what the variety show of professional wrestling. But they want their move sets and they want everything to be so serious, cut and dry. And there is a spot for the comedy and putting things together that are going to be well done and a little higher on the education side. Playing to the height of your audience's intelligence. There, what is the right amount of comedy, and how do you go about coming up with the when and where when you're putting together the show? Because like for an example here, AEW was catching a bunch of flack this weekend because their main event, and it's a big cosplay and
wrong
spot. And Hangman is in the state puff. So I mean, when you're putting a show together, and you've been there, you've done that. How do you plot that out? Where does it make the most sense to have Hornswoggle come out and bite Hamin's ass? Sure. And then how do we change gears to get back from the comedy aspect to get people geared back up for that big fight feel in our main event?
Well, I think NXT did it really well with the girls killing themselves off these ladders of like violence. So comedy a lot of times is a palate cleanser in the violence, right? So we like characters, we like all the hardcore and like the oh my God moments. You don't want to come right on the heels of that with more oh my God violence, right? So it's about putting your show together of here's our big exasperated emotion here. We're taking them on a big right here, oh my God, and a payoff with a new champion. And then we're going to go to another world completely. And like, it's almost like the Star Wars swipe push. You know what I mean? We go from one world to the next a little bit. That's really how I think things should run, unless there's a lot of different ways. There's 100 ways to skin this cat, but unless one segment has business at the end that bleeds over into the next one, you know what I mean, is the catalyst for what happens there. Let's make it a tag match, playa, whatever it is. So there's all these options, but you want to use your character stuff in between your violent stuff almost always, because that's taking them on the roller coaster. When we say that, everyone uses that, but like if the roller coaster is the violence, the low point isn't necessarily the comedy, but we come back down again and we start a new scene, and that comedy is going to take me on another emotional roller coaster ride of laughter or intrigue or furthering the story. And dude, look at what Gargano and Ciampa did for years, busting each other's fucking heads off of the concrete and announce table and ladders and cages and all this shit. And now Gargano, in my opinion, has gotten more over in the wedding thing, his little crew with Austin Theory that they broke up, and now he's with Sam Shaw and fucking doing this type of stuff. And all they had to do at the end was a thumbs up thing. They didn't have to say anything. Didn't have to say anything at the end of that scene, and it worked visually. So really, I don't care if it's comedy, your love story, whatever your drama is, the intrigue should be in between your big match violence segments to give them a little time to breathe, because I'm not going to want to do that and then have a hard hitting strong style match right after the girls went off the ladder, because the strong style match is going to suffer because it's going to be awesome unto itself. But on the heels of that, it's going to look 80%. If you put some entertainment in between there, maybe even 2 segs back to back to spread that out. Now all of them, we're making a bigger experience for our audience of, oh my God, laughter, ooh, that hurt, romance, like, you know, as opposed to instead of oh my God, and then ooh, that hurt. We're not getting the real emotions of the human experience all mixed in there.
Yeah, since we're talking about NXT, I'll use them as an example here. And they got such great success with it. You know, they go 2.5 hours, usually on their big shows, 5, 6 matches, maybe. Is there too much to get in for those different styles? Like, that you want to avoid? Like, okay, you can't do too much comedy. We don't want to do too much romance, too much technical, too much gimmick, too much big fight. Or do you want a representation of all, try to get as much as that in?
You want them all that, and one can lead to the next. We need to have that heartbreak and all that story to lead to a payoff match. So the story in the ongoing love feud and the stakes to when we're finally going to have violence pays off. It's not just to do an acting scene, right? So yeah, we want to have everything that we can, not to say every show that we have to have it in there, but if we know we have these themes, then how are we going to get the most out of each one? And we look at each segment individually and say, this is going to work best here. And sometimes you're the lower level scene, or you know, like you're the popcorn match is how they put it, right? So let's say the Shitty Six has popcorn matches for 2-3 weeks, and it's me and Dick Justice is the main storyline. But as that goes on, I'll get my heat on them, and then we know Hacksaw's coming, and or Tracy Smothers or somebody else, and they're going to be the bigger draw catalyst that's going to take our lower level feud. When I've gotten my heat on there and Dick needs to call for reinforcements, here comes the legend. Now we're in the semi-main or main event to get to where we need to be. You know what I mean? So there are no small parts, only small players, and it's just waiting for your time to come around. In a main event storyline, your title, a GGP, is going to be in the main event and do what he needs to do. But while we just did this show, so we got the Greeks and the Sheiks together right now, right? Megan Bain and GGP and Blaze Ram and myself. So on this show that we just did, what was first matchup? So I went out. Megan Bain is fighting Valerie with her little sexy boyfriend in his pink panties. I go out and choke him out and take him to the back. And like the girl's distracted, turns into Megan Bain's finish. Done. So we do one interference and we go over that way. Then in Blaze Haram versus Rick Recon, last man standing, they're having a banger match. I don't go out with them at all, you know what I mean, to do that. And then at the end, double down, out I come to do, no, excuse me, he hits, Recon hits Blaze with his big off the rope cutter. I come out, duck one, I take a cutter, I'm out, and Recon's looking at me. Here comes GGP with the chair, bong, takes out Recon. We pick up, we set the chair down, put Blaze in the chair while he's knocked out. Both his feet are on the ground, and Recon takes the L. So we help our guy win. Main event wise, Megan Bain comes out, does the distraction for GGP. Then he wins. Then we come out and fuck everybody over. See how we just do the switch of the cup game on there on who it's going to be. But the business is woven out through 3 segments throughout the show. And the crowd knows that, not knows, but is like, is somebody coming out? Is Hamin coming back out? No, it was the chick this time from a different angle. And you're always looking one way or the other. So it's just how you want to shine the overall business of our heel group getting heel wins But in between that, we need to have babyface moments that bring the crowd up. Because if we're just healing and fucking over every babyface segment after segment, they're gonna go, babyfaces suck, dude. These heels are way stronger and cooler, you know.
Now you've got that balance. You're taking those people on that roller coaster that they're loving their babies, and then you guys come out. You're obviously there. You're the ultimate heat magnets, the top heels. Is there a point where you get to it's overkill? We're getting too much Sheiks and Greeks here. Is there a fine line you walk right there?
Absolutely. Because I'm the Dippin' Donuts 24/7 9/11 champ, right? And I could have easily booked myself into some easy squash on here, but now it looks like it's about me. And it's not just about me, it's about the entire
group.
Okay. So if it was shine on me and there's points where that's going to happen, like I said, if I'm the C player in a scene, I play my background part because eventually I'm going to be the A player and the spotlight's going to be on me. Tonight, the spotlight was on Blaze Haram and Rick Recon. Tonight, the spotlight was on Megan Bain, the new champion. Tonight, the spotlight was on GGP holding 3 belts, and how are we going to make sure he comes out on top? It's not about, like, Ben Hamin's going to do the evil, but it's not about, none of those are Ben Hamin's storylines. I'm the mastermind, and I'm doing that, but that means we have to put the plan in motion for us to stay on top and hold the gold. It's about the group at that point instead of some individual spotlight and highlight. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's how it doesn't become stale with me running in 3 times. Megan, I do the first one, then we do the second one together, GGP and I get taken out to pay off a little heat. So they're like, yeah, Recon's up. They tried to fuck him over like they did in the other one, but he's smarter. Whoops, there's GGP. Didn't see that bullet coming. It's the Velociraptor attack. So I take one and sell it while he gets over because he's the champ. He's above where I am on the pecking order, and he should be up strong. He's in the main, so he needs to get his preheat. They already hate him before he even comes out because he's done something dastardly, and they hate me because I did one in the match 2 before that. And now this time I take the cutter and it pays off a little for them of the fuck you. So they get a payoff, but then we get our heat back right away. And then when GGP comes out, it's all good. At the end of GGP's thing, throughout the show, I had kind of gotten in Sideburns' face because we're burying the refs being heels because it's heels up, right? So he gets in my face, give him a Death Valley driver at the end of the show, lay him out. Dimitri comes in, we powder out like we're leaving, the whole crowd's leaving. Dimitri comes in to check on him, from the announce table, and I'm like, what the fuck? This guy thinks he can get in my ring. We come back. I give Dimitri the Death Valley driver while people are walking out, and I clutch him, and then Mike King suspends me for putting my hands on a sponsor, and an official. So there's all these little things, and I don't care if it's 120 people, 200,000 people. It's those attention to detail because people traveled 3 hours to come see this show in Troy, where we play, in the central New York area. They've been following the story, and I don't care if it's 2 people. I'm going to give them the full story all the way along because those details matter. And they might go tell somebody at the next show, well, why'd they do that? Oh, on the last show, you missed it, bro. They did this, that, and the other and put it over. So I don't care if that's not even happening to your performers. That constant continuity and taking care of details and callbacks and storylines to those diehard fans that spend their money and travel to come see you. When you give them that and they've followed the whole thing, that's who I'm really performing for. That's the high level.
Kind of goes back to what I was saying, those baby steps, those inch by inch. As Big Tom from War Wrestling tells me all the time, the best advertising is word of mouth. Whoever's there, get them hooked. They're going to start telling people. Now this is just the promoter side of it. I don't see a lot of people doing this anymore, but it's an old school trick going back to, running 3 house shows a day, the 80s, early 90s from WWF.
Yeah.
If obviously you, at the end of that show, you've got that audience hot. Now they're popping because, the commission's out there. He's scolding your ass. I don't know if you guys do an after party or immediately. Do you sell tickets for that next show?
That's a good question. To be honest with you, I don't think we are. I don't think we have tickets for next show on sale, and that's something I'll bring up to Mike King. That's a great idea and something we used to do at 2CW during the middle of the show during intermission. They get on the mic and go, right now, tickets just went on sale for Syracuse, Binghamton. We're here. And next month, we're in Syracuse and we're in Niagara Falls. Get your tickets now. Ringsides just went on sale online. So that sense of urgency, especially after they just saw a banger, somebody who might only go to a show in Binghamton, but they love the storyline is going to go, fuck, we got to go to Syracuse, bro. And they'll do that. So that's a great marketing technique too. Bravo.
Well, I was gonna say, because they always say Hogan would go in the middle of the house shows because he wanted to get the hell out of there.
Sure.
But I mean, it makes sense. He's your main ticket draw. You get some heat, the heels, beating him up or something like that. He makes his comeback. Then you announce, hey, Hogan and Honky Tonk Man are coming back here in 3 months. They're going to do it inside of a cage for you. Tickets are on sale right now. Then you go to your intermission. Box office open.
Yep. 100% before you want them to spend their money on t-shirts, but there's a chance they'll buy 2 t-shirts if they come back to the show twice. Once you're getting them once. So a ticket sale and returning customer for any business is obviously what you want to shoot for. And these are the people say in-ring psychology. This is booking psychology 101 and how you can get every cent out of that mark and shake them upside down for merch, for food, for ticket sales, for meet and greets, for autographs, for 50-50 raffle, in-ring pictures, all that kind of stuff, dude. The opportunity to be a ring announcer, whatever it is, like without them feeling like you took them for they want to spend that money on entertainment, but you have to give them a full experience. And in that, even if it's a 50-50 draw or anything along those lines, what we were talking about earlier, from high spot to comedy, these little things figure in where they need to be as well in order to get max value. But you got to have kind of the basics wired before you can start putting that fine trimming on your show. But it should all be in there.
Those are the things that really interest me because, I'm blessed when it comes to the in-ring. Trust in Ted. Beast, go handle it for us.
I did Beast job. So I was in 3 segments on the show, and all I had to do was run in for a minute and a half at most. And I got crazy heat, right? And what's been going on. But backstage, and hey, shout out Mike King on this one, finally listening to me. There was there was 8 matches. There was one pre-show, quick one where I told the boys, establish wrestling, go over clean, 5 minutes. That's all I want. But I agented all the other 7 matches on that show. You know what I mean? And I'm not like, I agented that. But Mike knows, much like you do, hand it over to one of the boys with all the experience and who can explain the business and what we're trying to do in each match. And my locker room speech isn't some self-serving, this is what we've done. And this is going to be the greatest Fed since ECW. And then I've been through so many of those. The boys want to hear where they are in the card, who the ref is, how they're supposed to go over. Thank you very much to the TV guys. Let's make them look strong, protect them. Here's the business of this match. Guys, keep it in the ring because we're doing this on the outside. Just these little notes, and we should be bing, bang, boom out in 4 to 5 minutes running down the card, and everybody's just on the same page. And if you have questions after that, come find me, and I'll be happy to talk about what you want to do. But I tell my guys or Mike's guys, our guys, that I'll give you the business and what I want accomplished and what not to do be based on some other things. Like Justin Credible came out with a kendo stick because it's his thing in the opener, but he didn't use it because later on in the show we're having a big kendo stick thing, right? But I'm not going to take away his entrance from him. But as long as everybody knows that, Justin's fine with that. He just needs it to come out and do the pose. So it's all those small attention to detail that you have to have somebody with the know-how to put it all together. But I love agenting stuff, but I tell these guys, I'm like, dude, you guys are the artist. I'm not going to paint a picture for you. I'm going to let you use your brushes and your paint the way you want to, but make sure it's either a heel finish, feet on the ropes, tight pull, and give me that for the storyline. You guys go and do the rest. If somebody's finishes a fucking Falcon's arrow, please don't do a Falcon's arrow in this match. Like, and then let them paint with what they want to in their 10 to 12 minutes, man. And they usually get it because that Immortal locker room is made up of veteran 2CW guys who we've been working together since 2011, you know, and we know what the fuck we do. And then there's a lot of younger mid-card guys who know that because they were fans of what we were doing, and now they're in the locker room and working their asses off, and we've put them in the position to show respect and learn this business the right way, and for everybody to trust and work with each other. And then you bring in AC Baby and Moose, and you got a hell of a show right there, man. Like a tight locker room of locals who travel within a 5-6 hour circumference, and two sign guys for signings. That's a good indie show, in my opinion.
It's funny. It's pretty much the way you laid it out is how Beast handled it. He comes in, he's got his laptop. He kind of sets up a little office spot for himself, gets the last rundown from us, and then it's literally takes that laptop and just goes to each match. You know, there is the no rah. And now watching him and how masterful he is at it, when I go to other shows and they try to do that big high school football locker room prep, you know,
it shows you
I just roll my eyes anymore.
The only time that I you know, will put that kind of shit over if it's a big achievement for the company, where guys have been working for 2-3 years, like a 2CW living on the edge, our free for view, and Josh doesn't do any meetings usually to kick things off. He doesn't give a fuck about any of that. But I think that's important because I'm so art by committee that just to thank everybody for the travel, for the bumps, for everything they're doing tonight, and get everybody in the group mind on the same page instead of cording off on, I'm going to steal the show with my segment. We might want to steal the show segment, but the other guys got to be smartened up to it that's a high point in our business. So we know you can do that, but let's tone that down. So, and also moments for what's happening next. So Stu, just so we open with, much like the NXT show with the ladder match, we had an elimination for King's Ransom, which is Money in the Bank, right? So Mike Skyros, sexy, young, muscular dude, baby face that we've been pushing, and he started in 2CW doing the gay character, Guy Sunshine, and now he's like a Chris Benoit shooter type, right? And had Bobby Ocean, a phenomenal high flyer, athletic dude. I think he's out of Baltimore, but he wrestles Northeast, and very smart guy. Been doing this since he was 14. He's 36 now. I mean, what more do you want out of a guy on your roster? And he still looks like he's 19, so he's got it all. And then we had Big Brute Van Slyke and another new guy who's like 6'8", and then Cade, who came with GGP, and also Justin Credible. So Justin's limited in what he can do right now because of athleticism and his age. But he's given us that ECW rub. So he's the first one out, right? Like
when it comes to those guys, like with Credible, though, you said all he's got to do out there, he's got to do the cane. That's all you need. I know Battle on the Border, you know, they recently had Sandman and Shane Douglas. They didn't even have to lock up in their match. It was about the entrances.
You get over in your entrance, dude. He's nostalgia at this point, right? So he can do something heelish and then get eliminated, and it protects him because his health, you know, he's put on a fair amount of weight, and he knows he'll tell you that. And, you know, Justin's my dude, man. Like, I'm here to protect him. Like, yeah, I'd like to have the ECW Justin Credible that I grew up on, but I'm just happy he's on the show and kicking it with us, and to have him in the locker room is awesome, you know, and I want to protect him to make sure he's not going to be hurt in any way. And you're right. He comes out, raises the kendo stick. They just they got their money's worth. They got their Justin Credible's money's worth, and he knows that. So he's fine with being the locker room winner and getting pinned in 2 minutes because his envelope don't change, you know? So Justin's out and Cade gets the heat there. And then we have a moment where we have a part in there because Brute is probably 380, 6'4", and this guy is probably 290, 6'7". Now we've got the story of our two big men in there, but we've cleared the way with them killing Skyros and Bobby and fucking Cade, so we can get that face off and some Titan shit going on at that part of the chapter in the match. because they're going to have a big man's hoss feud at the next show, but we had to set that up during the middle of this match. So that business is getting done. They eliminate each other and fight to the fucking back and both get counted out because it's a big hot thing. So that's what's going to pay off that way. So Justin's out, they're out. Cade stays in as the heel. Now we got two high flyers. And shout out to GGP because I had Cade going out second. He's like, nah, leave him in there so you got a heater. So I listen to GGP. It's art by committee, bro. I'm not going, no, my fucking idea. I'm like, I'll hear you out. And I'm like, yeah, that's smarter than what I was thinking. So we make that. Cade gets heat with both those guys until they both double team and take Cade out. Now it's baby to do a spot fest at the end. The heater's gone. The big men are gone. The legend are gone. Let's clear the way. And either of these guys could beat each other on any given Sunday because their offensive package and athleticism is right neck and neck. And the crowd would be pumped to see Bobby go over, but they've been following the story of Skyros for years, from going from a ring boy to where he is now. And now he's going to get a title shot. Is he going to be up there to get that? Bobby puts him over, crowd pops mega because we've taken him on a long journey. And in that, we've made Cade a heel, a more established heel, and he hasn't been around that long. We got the big men set up for the next match, and we get Skyro set up to face GGP down the road on the big payoff. So a match like that can do quadruple business, and it gives the people the just incredible pop.
You've run the gauntlet of getting your audience invested and growing.
So that's how I agent my shit. and shout out to Mike King and his boys who are wrestling fans, because they're putting the matches together, but they don't know the order of which guy should be eliminated. And that's where they humble themselves, come to me. I talk to GGP and we start laying stuff out. And if the guys have an idea where they think something can change, I'm not going to go, fuck no, this is how it is on the sheet. It's art by committee. If it's working and I have a blind spot, because I got 6 other things that I have to put together in the show, but their segment is all important to them. And as long as it works and they can punch it up a little bit, dude, I'm down. And everybody has investment then. It's not me telling you, you do a power bomb, you kick out, hit him with, no, fuck that. I'm not going to tell you how to paint with your brushes, bro. You're the Bob Ross when it comes to that. Here's the business. How do we accomplish it the best and make everybody shine or put heat on somebody the best way?
Well, we're talking, this is great tips and all that, great conversation about growing the business. Let's switch gears and talk about a group that might be getting out of the business, or at least drastically scaling back. It's been the hot topic for the last week or so here, and it involves Ring of Honor in Sinclair. What we do know is that effective the first of the year, a few are going to expand beyond that were signed a little longer term, but not into the spring. They are releasing their complete roster. Then we've also heard some rumblings from a couple sheets. I know some of the contacts that you have, some of the people I've talked to, some of the same people we talked to. We don't know exactly how true it is, but the strong rumor out there is that the video library is for sale. I know you've talked about this a few places, Ben, but the more people you talk to, the more we're getting from this story. Right now, what do you make of, I guess, this craziness that surrounds Ring of Honor wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, that from the wrestling side to the Sinclair side, that one influences the other. And then I've also heard stories from people on the roster of like, no, that's all bullshit and hype and it's going to be fine and going this way. So I don't know if that's the truth or management's trying to work them and what's not. But I've heard that the tape library is up for sale. And if that happens, then the value of the company once it's sold is done. Like now you just have a trademarked name recognition brand that's been around for 20 years. Not a bad thing, but the actual foundation of what you worked for that 20 years has now been sold and you're back to square one. So you're really just an indie with a nice logo in a studio.
Obviously, I mean, there is tremendous value out there on the market with that library. Now, if you are Sinclair yourself, and you're not really you're a media Mongol. I mean, Is that library that important to you
I'd
when
like
you
to be a
really?
media I'd like to be a media mogul instead of a Mongol, but I'll
Oh,
take
that's what I meant. That's what I
but
meant.
no, Mongols. Yeah.
I'm an idiot, though. Yeah.
No, you're fine.
Um, but no, is that library that important to you when you really are in the wrestling business for cheap syndication?
No, it's not, but it's also a foundation of what your company has been built on. And once you sell that, now you're back to square one and you're way don't have the strongest legs to stand on, especially if you're not going to sign guys to long-term contracts and just bring indie guys in. It's going to look like Dark Elevation. Do it. Would I love to see me and GGP and Blaze on there? Absolutely getting a shot. But like I don't see them going, we want you guys for $120,000 each, like that those days I think are done for them. There's also been a hack at Sinclair. Not a lot of people are aware of this, but a ransomware hack where they are hemorrhaging millions of dollars and they're trying to get rid of liquid assets that cost them money. And all they want is tape library for syndication because they can just pay the money. They don't have to produce 2.5 Men. They've already got the entire library. They just put it out there and then can sell the advertising off of it. Having to have a produced show, that's investment, and having signed contract people, they want to get rid of all that liquidity while they're hemorrhaging, and that's just smart business. And I got to believe that ROH has been a loss leader all through the pandemic. They must be in the red because their house shows and TV tapings, they had no audience at, only their pay-per-view payoffs. So you have no money coming in live show event wise. Danhausen has his own deal with Pro Wrestling Tees, so I doubt they're seeing any money off of the hotness of Danhausen's uptick. You know what I mean? And that, not that he'd be the guy to save the company millions upon millions, but I'm just thinking of characters that have value. But then also I've heard that Sinclair is oblivious to what they think values are worth. Like I'll stooge it off when because he's retired, but when Danny Davis sold the OVW library to WWE Network, I think, and I'm slightly sure, I could be wrong, but I think he got 2 to 2.5 million, and that's Cena, Brock, Batista, big, like, everybody up until from 98 to 2006. So they bought that. Now I would say the ROH library is probably equal to that with Punk, Joe, Daniel Bryan, you know what I mean? A lot of these guys, Ciampa and them. But if you're talking about inflation, maybe $3-4 million tops would be the value of that library to me in 2021. But my source says that that Sinclair is so clueless when it comes to like what the value is, they probably wouldn't sell it for less than 25 million. And that means it'll sit on the shelf and nobody will buy it unless Khan really goes crazy with daddy's money and wants it because he says he thinks his next step is to get like his own network, online network with Turner. That's the only way I could see it. But really, you're never going to get your value out. If you spent 25 million, you just lost $21 million because it's not worth that by any means. So
if you're Sinclair and you value it there, or at least that's what you're outspoken with, that you're promoting, is it one of those, yeah, if we got to hold on to it, we'll hold on to it, but hey, let's throw it out there and see if some idiot bites on this thing?
yeah, I think they will. And I think if they have the price there, it's a bunch of idiots. If they have the price at 25 million, that's foolish. I think a $4 million buy for Khan, 5 million even, is a little bit overextended, but I think that's where I'd be at my ceiling on there. If WWE buys it, the guys that are on it are in AEW now. So what does it really do for them? You know what I mean? And it's just going to go to Peacock and kind of sit on the shelf for wrestling nerds to be like, oh, go back and watch some old Jay Lethal shit. You're like, is that really worth $4 million, $5 million?
I'd say I don't know if it's worth that price tag, but Canadian Spaceman mentioning, if they have the Ring of Honor library, why not syndicate it to other TV networks? He says in the early 2000s, he remembers watching AWA on ESPN. I love that afternoon wrestling on ESPN. But hey, last night on Fight Network, I watched 2.5 hours of TNA The Asylum Days channel. That was Russo at the helm there. Big Vito was there. It was a great 2.5 hours. They had a lot of cool shit going on. Followed that up with 2 hours of Ring of Honor classics. I regularly watch that. I love going back and watching the classic stuff on kind of these off-beaten sports networks that are out there. So I don't know if there's tremendous value in it.
5 million. What you're saying?
I don't think it's worth that. But something as a fan, I personally really enjoy those. So if you're out there and you're looking for something like that, it is out there that you can pick up.
I get it, but
I don't see it's not worth that price tag at all.
I think for an Amazon Prime, I think is where it needs to go. You know what I mean? Like that's where it would be. Like there's just too much oversaturation in wrestling, and I like your idea of that Saturday show, but like.
Oh, I'm saying I don't necessarily think it works now. I'm thinking that nostalgia. I just used to love it back in the day. Come, they have the AWA and then Global Wrestling Federation took that over. So it was cool then. I don't think it does work in today's environment because with the different platforms.
I just don't see the value in it. I can see you trying to do it and getting close, but overall, I see dark days ahead for ROH. Unfortunately, I hope not. I hope the new rebranding and whatnot how they're going to do things supposedly in April helps them. But if they sell that tape library, they are no more than an indie with better production and bigger trademark recognition. So it'll be interesting to see which the way things go. And to be honest with you, dude, everyone, it's the best time to be a fan. It's not. Like I was
going to ask you, is a fan maybe because you got all of these, but is the business as a whole?
It's not.
Where are we at?
One directly influences the other, because it's about oversaturation, shit creative, and a bunch of people inside their own individual bubbles who think that they're fucking absolutely killing it, and none of them are killing it. The only thing they're killing is their own business by doing Ghostbusters proton pack spots in the main event with your champion, where you're saying this is a sports-based product based on wins and losses right after we do this flying asshole proton pack 4-way spot. We'll get to that. Tell me which it is then, because you're making yourself hypocrites in what you claim to be difference in the sport, but you mark out for more cosplay shit. I'm surprised they didn't come out as fucking Aladdin again, where they're cross-dressing. Like that's what they really want to do. To be honest with you, they want that flame out stuff to be crossed over in there, but they had to keep it within. And the fact that your show went from 1.1 million to 500,000, that's what needs to be addressed. Not buying a tape library for whatever reason, you know what I mean, that you want to justify it for. That your show there with top guys like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk isn't drawing. The WWE acts like they're over as fuck. Meanwhile, they have top guys with swords and shit coming out, getting no value of how they should be getting over whatsoever. And seeing the third lowest Raw was last week, 1.5, since the lowest back in July, but they still keep acting and thinking like they're over. MLW making the big mistake of what a ton of shindies do, having 15 matches on the card because they wanted to have all the top indie properties and everyone needs a buddy match and a buddy favor. And now Court Bauer's like, no, dude, I've been on these shows that are 4.5, 5 hours long, and I'm in the main event. By the time we get there, half of the crowd is there and they're burnt out. They've seen everything so far. So they just fucked us over because the promoter doesn't know how to do what I just explained for an hour and take the audience on an all-encompassed ride. It's just match after match after match after meaningless fucking match. And it killed part of their business. Now they're letting guys go and scaling their shit back because Mike King at Immortal did the same thing. We'd have shows with 12, 13 matches on the card. I finally got him down to 7, and this show was one of the best shows we've had. 7 is all you need. I
gotta tell you, from a fan perspective, I'm looking at a show. Unless there's something really hot on there at some point, if I see 7 or more matches, like I'm even questioning if I want to go.
Who gives a shit about what fans want? It should be, I'm taking you on the ride.
I know, but I'm just saying,
can't miss it because the last show you went to was an experience. You shouldn't care. I mean, there's guys you like on the show, what have you, but the fans should be more trusting in, I got to go to Immortal. I got to go to 2CW. I got to go to Pro Wrestling Alliance because they gave me 2.5 hours of awesome entertainment. Not this match is going to be that. And then this match is going to be this. Excuse me. You know, to put it in the fans' hands of, I don't want to go because of 13 matches and and like them to break down the card as a promoter. Now we've already failed before the bell even rings. The circus.
Well, I guess it's about breaking that barrier then.
It's about taking the power back from your fan base and making them marks for you, not you marks for them and what they fucking want. Sure, we listen to them, but at the same time, when we present it our way, not their way. And WWE and MLW made that mistake. AEW is making that mistake in real time, and Ring of Honor has been crushed by the pandemic and whatever's going on behind the scenes that they don't want out there. Peacock lost $500 million last quarter from the botch of the Olympics and people not subscribing or signing up because they didn't have the right marketing plan in place with WrestleMania and WWE to have that going from the transition of the network to that. So my point being, this isn't the best time. These companies have all shot themselves in the foot thinking they're over. And ROH is kind of the first regulation of that, of like, we got to close and we got to fire all these guys. MLW laying off probably 1/3 of their roster to scale things back. AEW, things are in half of where they should be. So what solutions are we going to do to even gain back our audience? WWE, a constant decline where Vince McMahon and Vince Russo are fucking talking to each other. And then when Russo tells him what he needs to hear, Vince goes, I'm not talking to you anymore. No jobs for you. Like, everybody at the highest level is myopically blind. They're so looking at their own shit and not seeing anything else from the outside. Then they ask for help from the outside. When they hear the realness, boom, blinders come right back up. Nope, can't hear that critical talk about me. Instead of going, you know what, that's a point. We need to just focus on this. So the business as a whole is at the lowest point ever because of oversaturation, because of septuagenarian ignorance and possibly dementia, and because of egotistical choices that and not knowing how to do business because you're too green in this shit still, even while you're surrounded by masters of the game and you're not tapping into them. You hire them, but you're not tapping into any of their knowledge to learn anything. So it's all self-inflicted wounds, bro. It really is. And now there's a stampede to the indies, but in the Northeast, nobody runs during the winter time. So it will be a true Arab Spring. It'll be an interesting spring. Hopefully ROH bounces back. I don't find like laughing at other people's Schadenfreude misery of possibly going out of business. I want as many jobs as possible for my brothers and sisters to make money in. But right now, I think by this spring, you're going to see a mass regulation and exodus. You're going to see a lot of your favorite independent wrestlers and former WWE stars delivering your shit from Grubhub, getting your coffee at Starbucks. You're going to see a lot of that, bro. A lot more OnlyFans, a lot more apartment wrestling, boner championship fucking stuff. All that shit is going to come out, bro. Because
the BCW is coming out.
Yep.
I really take from there, you know, because it's one thing, and I continue, and every day I'm learning something new, is that I was stressing to my audience, like, I'm going to have you out of here in 2 hours, you know, and I probably got to get over that. Just get them hooked on knowing.
Do people leave the movie theater and go, fuck, I wish that 2-hour movie was another hour and a half longer? No, we're conditioned. Movies are that length for a reason because they've done the testing to be like, this is how long people can sit on their ass before the blood rushes out of their fat ass, or they need more butter and sugar in their life. So you like thinking that you're putting on the greatest wrestling show ever that's 3.5 hours, you've already burnt them by an hour and a half.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. I got to get away from stressing that, you know, just let people know they're, you know, just build that where they know they're going to get that excitement, that intensity, that it's going to be worth their value at any length. It's kind of what you're saying on that.
Yeah, I mean, even though I want to beat his face in, and I probably will if I ever get back across the border here to going back north to Canada. But Chris LaPlante, who runs Crossfire Championship Wrestling, 6 matches on the card, bro. Tag, championship, women's, undercard singles, and then some type of gimmick comedy match, probably. And then whatever else he wants to mix in based on an outside draw like Cody Dean or Josh Alexander or somebody like that coming in, Congo Kong, you know.
That's basically our formula.
That crowd never leaves going, this show was too long, or I didn't get this, that, or the other, bro. And guys who you can have one match, it's 2 minutes, and have other guys pull 25 instead of everybody gets 8 to 10. You know, like you're not allowed to like doing squashes and that shit. It just doesn't work. So, dude, 6 to 7 matches is plenty, and the crowd leave feeling that they got every cent that they paid for.
Silence out there. Forgot the landline going off on me.
Important guy.
Yeah, you know how it is around here. So yeah, where do you see the state of, with all these major, you know, I don't say like majors, but your mid to major promotions within a year or two? Are they going to go to the wayside? Are we going to see a much scaled back version of the national level wrestling?
As much as I hope it isn't that, I don't see ROH making it. And I also don't see Impact making it. I know people have put the hex on them. I mean, they're the unkillable, right? But when you're supposed to have the forbidden door open and AEW is running Dynamite against your Bound for Glory pay-per-view, and you do no crossover where you're like, all right, we're going to Christian to defend the title, while he's on your roster, that's not an open door. That's not doing good cross promotion. That's not making people go, ooh, this is interesting, when you have that opportunity in the palm of your hand to do that kind of stuff. And with Impact at 86,000, bro, and them trying to get Braun and Bray and couldn't close either deal. And who do they get? The Kiss Demon. Like that's their, like, you know, no hate on Dale Torborg or anything like that, but like, dude, you can't. So like, it's like, hey, you're 16 years old. Hey, mom and dad are buying me a Mercedes, and you get out there and there's a skateboard in the driveway with a bow on it. You know, like that's kind of the equivalent of what you're trying to promise and then what you deliver on. So, how long can Anthem take that as a loss leader, bro? I mean, it took Billy Corgan 6 months to turn around and sell it from hemorrhaging the money. NWA, more of our great people there, from Velvet, Timmy Baltimore, Aaron Stevens. I mean, tons of people. Genocide. They did 500 buys on the pay-per-view, bro. I mean, we got to be honest as businessmen, not just marks for the business, and look at this shit. I could see Ring of Honor gone. I could see Impact gone. I could see NWA folding. I could see AEW getting scaled back by half, and Dark Elevation and all that shit where the kids pay $4,500 to Nightmare Factory to get on TV. That goes away. WWE will continue to do exactly what they're doing, which is stay blind to the fact that their creative sucks because no one will step up to Vince McMahon. And then they'll fuck up the deals with USA and Fox, turn around and take that same toxic property and asset and sell it to incompetent people at Apple TV or Amazon Prime. Like that'll be the next thing. It'll be the same thing that we warned Fox about, that they're buying a toxic property and they'll think that they have all the answers. And when we told them that, the rating was at a 3.1. Now it's at a 1.8. As time goes on, every time I don't want to be like, we're proven right. I don't want to be right. I want you to shut the fuck up and listen to what I'm telling you so we can apply solutions, but they don't. They just go, no, we're over and everything's going to be good. We got Bischoff, we got Hamin, we got Bruce Pritchard. Oh, that's working out great for you. Worked out awesome the last 2 years. Drove your product down to a laughable piece. And now your women's evolution revolution is dead in the water from women acting like cunts to each other backstage. So all the credibility is shot completely. And how many times can you go to the well to take that Bin Salman Arab money just to keep acting like you're over? So that's what I see as the next 3-4 years of professional wrestling. But in the next year, the 3, 4, and 5 companies are all going to either go out of business or scale back massively. I see MLW being fluid enough to scale back and stay alive. The ones that are too over bloated, that have had a long run, like an Impact and ROH, are more susceptible to going out of business. And then that begs the question: who's going to buy their libraries?
With the flood of these talents, I mean, obviously, I mean, if you even have a cup of coffee at WWE, your price tag on the indies, I mean, it skyrockets. You know, working anywhere television, working for these mid to majors and all that, your price tag is going to skyrocket. What does it do to the trickle down to effect for the indies? I mean, where do promoters have to draw a line? How do you judge a true value of a talent if they're actually making you money, if they're turning something at the gate for you? I mean, there's a lot of different dynamics that go into a huge shift at the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, well, how does it look for the indies? It looks like a stampede of indie workers who got signed coming back, and now they want double and triple what they were asking before, because they were on one NWA pay-per-view and they were on AEW Dark twice. So they're official TV stars, don't you know? But at the end of the day, they will be better performers coming back, and the audience will look at them as having more credibility than your local indie guy who put them over for 6 months straight. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, we're all in the same fucking locker room in the same boat, and it's just about doing business the right way. But in people's mind, once you're on the fucking TV, you're something special. Even if you sucked, you're above the local guy that they see. But that's not true at all. So the reality is, so there'll be shindy feds that load up their fucking roster with, hey, we got Ascension, we got Tony Atlas, we got fucking FTR, Congo Kong's here, da, 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 da. And they'll like these budgeted shows that look like the guy is about to spend $26,000 to $30,000 just on X name talent because he's a mark for it and wants to pretend that he's fucking.
That just hurts me even hearing a figure like that.
Dude, I was on 3 shows this summer. Guess how many of them got pulled off? Guess how many of them went? Over. No, 0. Deanna Purrazzo gave the boys the warning of like, hey, this guy hasn't gotten back to me and da 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 da. That was the show that all of them were that I just named. Like, that's not even half of the dudes that he booked, you know. And we get the email. Looks like there's problems with the commission because another Fed doesn't want us to run, and all these bullshit excuses. Or another one, I'm in the hospital and I'm not feeling well. Da 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 da. Meanwhile, 8 days later, and that's 2 weeks before the show, 8 days later, posting fine, and I'm da da da, like trying to work the boys. No, the reality is you're a mark promoter who way overbooked, who thought they were going to be the fucking next Paul Heyman, Vince McMahon Jr., whatever, and you don't have 13,000 in upfront money to send all these top talents who want half of their get up front because they don't trust any promoter, because it's guys like them that have fucked this business up left and right. So the $200 guys like me fucking get shit out of their booking when I would have done business for Tony Atlas and the Patriot or what have you. So now there's going to be a lot of people who are worth maybe $150 that you would pay on your indie that are going to be asking $550, $600 because they were on Dark Elevation one time and they think they're fucking superstars. And there's mark promoters out there who will pay it. And your guys who are your diehards are going to be pushed off the card because these guys are going to mark out to bring them people in, and they're not going to give you any more match. They're going to give you a one-off. They're not going to give you any long-term business. All of those things are necessary to sell more tickets to the next show. So smart indie promoters will use their diehard guys and have these people who have a little more name recognition, give them the shine and put them over and do things the right way, or get them involved in a 3 to 4 match program that elevates the local guy because the marks think that this dude who's been on TV is somebody, and it will give your guy the up. That's getting max value out of somebody who's been on TV, not just bringing them on. They're good on the poster to bring people in ticket wise, but what are you going to do with them in your show to heighten the rest of your roster? And some people will not do business. They'll just put them over strong so they can hit their finisher. And then we just have a one-off that is meaningless. It was good for that one crowd, but what did it really do for your company?
We're talking about this will sort of we're talking about the ROH library. This just coming in on the sheets. A headline pops up. Tony Khan comments on potential AEW streaming service. I guess he was recently, during an interview, was asked about his thoughts about the WWE's backstage format that was on FS1. Tony had to say, I don't agree with WWE backstage at all. I don't think it was a good format, and I actually had been pitched to do a format like that for AEW, and I refused. I don't think wrestling fans want to see that format. I think when wrestling fans tune into a wrestling show, they want to watch wrestlers wrestle. Backstage, to me, it should be a lower budget streaming type show. So here we go. That was kind of interesting. So then he goes on. They start talking about an eventual streaming service. This is talking with Barstool Sports. Asked me about it. And there's a great demand for it. I'm excited to talk more about it because we're building each week a great library of content. It gets better and better, and we can provide more new content. So I'm excited to tell people about that. But it's still something we're working on. So the people were in his ear about it, and I guess maybe it's something that they've been talking about as well.
I mean, the guy's got enough on his plate, that's for sure, right? With 3 TV shows, a football team, and a soccer team. If he feels like that's what they want, and Turner's talking about it, then because it's not necessarily that AEW needs it, but if you've got a big corporation that's feeding you money that way, and Turner sees Peacock go up and they want their own version of it, that's what it is. It's not necessarily a necessity that we have this wrestling network or what have you, but we got to keep up with the Joneses corporate TV wise. Right. So interesting there, but to me, that's work for a guy like me. I would love to be in on something like that to help develop it and make sure it's done right. So I'm not trying to shit on it out of the gate and be like, that'll never work. And like it depends on if you have those diehards and it's there, what extra work is it aside from marketing and promotion to create awareness? And then you can do some special stuff on there and post match stuff that doesn't need to be on YouTube, and you can drive them right to your network and your app. So there is value there, no doubt about it. But you have to have people around you that you trust to say, please go handle this, because I have to look at why I went from 1.1 million to 500,000 viewers. That's a bigger fish for him to fry. He needs smart people like us, you, me, Stevie, Vince, whoever, to be able to handle that stuff and check in with them to do it, because the other EVPs, I don't see them like going out of their way to push merch to a next level. I don't see the video game thing like really hitting with people. So what are they doing, man? And no offense to Bucks and Omega and those guys, they've made fucking millions of dollars doing what they do. Where's their marketing degree? Where's the EVP of marketing? Where's she at? Whoa, baby. You're like, where is this going down with the people who have these name positions in getting this extra stuff done? That really is where their company needs to go. And why aren't those people in a board meeting every week asking, why are these metrics way down, instead of trying to use analytics to be like, well, we beat them 285,000 to 324,000. We beat them for. Everybody looks at that and goes, wow, how petty and small are you arguing about that, instead of looking at the big picture stuff and making solutions to fix that and keep that on the rise. So until they do that, the trust and faith of pulling off an entire library network, to me, at its highest level, I don't see that as a top priority.
I guess on all levels of wrestling, and really this could, for those listening in with us, I mean, it speaks to all business. Ben, I mean, advice for staying focused on those core goals and moving forward instead of getting yourself overwhelmed. And I guess all these sexy projects and growth opportunities. I mean, what would you go in there and tell them to say, hey, we got to get grounded?
Yeah, I would say let's address our top 5 issues, you know what I mean, which is over social media exposing, loss of audience is number one. Like, there's no way we can have a 50 to 60% swing in debut of a show with top stars, and then those same top stars 12 weeks later are only drawing half of that. That is a big problem. Also, are we on solid ground to be on Wednesday nights, or do we just get kicked off of here and go to Saturday whenever the wind shifts on NHL and NBA? Are we the fucking redheaded stepchild, or are we a prime property? And if that's so, then we also need to have things in place digitally where we are in YouTube right now to go, all right, fans, we know you're tuning in on Wednesday, but we're performing this Saturday. But go to our YouTube now because we've got a special Best of Kenny Omega special that we've been working on, right? And push that the entire week before. They did none of that the last 2 weeks they were on Saturday. People tuning in Wednesday, there wasn't even a commercial that says Impact Saturday night, or excuse me, Dynamite Saturday night. None of that was taken care of. But you're worrying about all this other frivolous. You're worrying about doing Barstool, and at least Barstool's known. How many podcasts did he do in the last month that are shit casts that nobody listens to, and they have no professionals on them whatsoever? Total fan cast from marks who know nothing about this business at all. I bet he wasted 6 hours doing that shit.
And why is that falling on him as the head of the company? I mean, why isn't there a group of individuals?
He wants to do that. He
I
loves
know,
it.
I mean, it's just not smart business.
Where's the big brother to grab him by the neck and pull him back away from that shit? Why aren't you sending out a Jerry Lynn to do that stuff? Why aren't you sending out a Dean Malenko to do it with all notes of like, here's what we want to cover while he's doing that? Instead, it's more I, me, my. That's the biggest reality, is that he needs somebody to grab him like, nope, get back here. And like, you're not going and doing it. It's a bad. Some fan, Tony Khan, came out at the end of the show. I got new respect for him. He took pictures with all the fans at ringside. You just killed all your mystique. You just marked out for yourself to go take pics with the fans. And yeah, it got one little tweet. But the more they see of you acting fanboyish, the credibility of your company goes to the ground. And then when you back that up with declining numbers, meanwhile you're saying, I'm going to whip the shit out of SmackDown, and you have egg on your face, dude, you need a big brother to fucking protect you. And you have multiple ones there, but you're not tapping into them the way you should. Or they're just going along as yes men because they don't want to rock the boat. So they're working you as a money mark to keep their checks coming in.
I just think, with that marketing, I mean, why don't you have freaking Jungle Boy everywhere just for that crossover? It's Perry's kid. Come on.
I agree. But at the same time, you have Jungle Boy openly saying in interviews to the Sheets, I just don't like promos. I don't feel comfortable killing his own superstar, bro. You know what that means to me? What does AEW need? Because they got a lot of indie workers who suck on the mic because they were just spot monkeys or buddy jobs, and they really don't have their skill set as top character wrestlers polished. You need an acting coach. You need the girls to be in there with Serena 3 times a week, learning how to wrestle, the fundamentals, how to put a match together, real psychology, real promos. There's none of this going on. It's more about, we're getting a network and we're getting to this and we're going to do proton pack flying asshole spots. Nope. Be prepared to lose. Be prepared to keep losing, because you're not looking at your true problems and trying to come up with creative solutions that will increase value, viewership, and solidify your locker room as having faith in you. Because believe me, when they see that shit every week, they might come with a smile on their face, but real workers know, this shit is not going right.
There was and we got some great conversation here, Ben, but there was one headline out here that I had marked at the top of the list I wanted to get to you about. You need to go back to your days, your experiences, little OVW conversation. Yeah. JTG reveals which 2 wrestlers looked out for him in WWE development. Story says here, former WWE superstar JTG recently spoke with GOW Media 216, where he discussed the locker room during his time at OVW, admitting that it's very different from how things are in WWE today. He had to say it was fairly difficult. It was definitely walking on eggshells. I don't think it's like that right now. When I got to OVW, especially being a brother moving to Louisville, Kentucky, it was a big culture shock. He then goes on to say, let's go down here. When I first got there, I had two individuals look out for me like I was their little brother. That was Elijah Burke, the Pope. The wrestling world knows him as the Pope. Then I had Chad Gasper, my tag team partner. We didn't know we were going to be tag team partners. We just kicked it off because we grew up in a similar background. We are both from Brooklyn, New York. We grew up around the same neighborhood. It was just a coincidence. And then we just became close. He taught me how to work out. He showed me around Louisville. He gave me his ID so I could get into the club at 19. We just hit it off. We became great friends. And later down the line, we became tag team partners.
Yeah, big shout out Jay, man. No doubt about that. And Shad too, obviously. Rest in peace, man. And Pope, dude. Pope's done great business. And Shad, or excuse me, JTG is a true Rip Rogers guy. He wasn't signed. He came there, took the bus from New York City, to Louisville. Okay. That's about a 20-hour trip.
But I do like you said, he wasn't signed on. He does say here the locker room was a lot different. Like,
dude, he was non-contract, earned his contract. At first, he was with Abraham Washington, even though he wasn't called that then. And they were doing kind of the gangsters thing. And then Shad, obviously, Shad walks into the room and he's the biggest brother in the room. So he'll be the big brother if he wants to be. But really, Shad was one of the more immature. He's just like a giant 8-year-old kind of is how he was. But he could hammer you into the ground like a spike if he needed to. So you weren't going to fuck with him. But Jay knows what it takes to go to beginner's class, then Rips class, to be seen and earn a contract. All the early Crime Time stuff that they did with you know, at the ATM where they boot Ranger Milton in the face. They taped all that themselves. That wasn't a WWE thing. They came up with all that and showed it, and that's how it got over. And at that time, 100% right. So he was there probably right at the end of that Brock Cena era, 2004. And dude, the politics at that time are massive, right? Like, this is JBL and all those guys setting the tone in the locker room at WWE, and that's going to trickle down. Sean and Hunter are still on top. All the throats are getting cut left and right. You don't know if your buddy's going to stab you in the back to get the contract. This guy's on gas, but no one can say it. So the rest of us better be on gas because he just got signed. People are looking for you to be 2 minutes late to a house show or not do ring crew so they can go stooge to Nova so Nova can write you up, and then fucking that goes upstairs and this guy doesn't want to, like, all that shit's in there, man. And if you're green and you don't know that's going on around you, you could be completely oblivious to the assassins that are there to cut your throat. Because if you're in the locker room, that's somebody's spot who might not be there next month. And that might be somebody's buddy my buddy over there, who you're taking their spot, and they might need to go, but they're going to want to protect them. So all this backstabbing and was going on nonstop, guys, even in Deep South when, the training was way crazy and like just like a test. Everything was a test by DeMott and hurting guys for no reason and doing, you know, the ass in the face stuff. Guys were writing letters to the officer, calling, stooging off the trainers to get them fired, to sabotage. Like, that's the level of shit that is going on that the trainers don't know about until they hear about it afterwards, and then they don't know who did it. And now there's a complete fucking paranoia through the locker room, and they're going to take it out of you in practice. And there's silent heat where people know about it and others don't. And it just gets like that, bro. And, you know, I'm not trying to throw any of our guys under the bus, but I remember when it was Casey James and a young Idol Stevens before he was Dane Sandow, feeling that pressure, bro. And it was just like, to watch those guys almost have anxiety attacks every week coming to TV, I was like, fuck, I feel bad for him, but I wasn't playing at that level at that time. I was still learning my craft.
What was the interaction or the attitudes between the different levels? You have the amateur, the middle group there, the intermediate, and then the contract class.
Some great and some hated us because some guys would come in and get contracted and as contract dudes who sucked, but they're going to be with Al because Al Snow is the top trainer, and that's what Danny and Al have with WWE. Rip is for guys who are there on their own dime and want to learn this. So like really learn this business in and out and how to be a worker. Not that Al's not teaching them that, but Al has to teach them WWE TV stuff as well. So there's like guys who aren't that good in Al's class, and then there's guys who are incredibly good in Al's class, like a Dolph Ziggler or a Mike Mondo. You know what I mean? Like guys who are just fucking phenomenal. But then Rip is teaching guys how to work, and we can outwork and out character some of the guys in Al's class. That's a problem, right? So like a Jamin is a great example of this. So Jamin's so good that they're going to make him the TV championship or tag champ because he's over with the crowd as a young hot baby face, and his selling and promos are so good that they want him to win. But when Al's going to put the titles on a non-contract guy, here come the contract guys bitching and cunting to the office.
So somebody's calling the office.
Now we're fucking in a weird thing
now you got Johnny Ace or somebody calling down. Hey, this ain't happening.
Al, what's this? I hear you're putting titles on non-contract guys over contract guys. What the fuck? Yeah, dude, the kids drawing ratings in the quarter hour. You should take a look at them. We want our guys over. We want Ox and Hammer over. And Ox and Hammer are fucking top dudes, right? But in the storyline, they can get slipped over on. It does better business for them. And I'm not saying Ox and Hammer were the guys that were calling. I'm not trying to stooge them off.
Right.
But you know, that's what breeds that. Now, once we have that, dude, here come the other contract guys just to hate on Jamin. And then there's 3 or 4 go, fuck that, dude. Jamin's been putting us over and taking all the bumps for us. It's a fake fucking title. Put it on the kid for 2 weeks. So when you take it off of them, it's big heat. But they don't see past week whatever because they're green and their egos because they just came from NFL or wherever the fuck they came from and they don't care about wrestling. So, but all that is just a shit whirlwind for some phony titles and drama that has to go on backstage to try and cut Al's throat, to have Ace be over fucking Al, to put heat on Nova, to then Danny has to regulate and fucking step in for no reason whatsoever, bro. So that's a good question of like when non-contracts get to a point that's undeniable, they're going to get tested to see if they'll break under the pressure. And a guy like JTG and Shad didn't. And what happened? It's crime time, right? You get over, you know? So and then that's the worst thing you can do too, is get yourself over with something that they didn't come up with, because they'll get it there and then they'll bury it just to be like, see, that shit never got over. There's all these strange, invisible fiery hoops around you that you have to jump through. And sometimes they're making you go through them and you don't even realize it until you're on the other side and go, fuck, I'm in a trap now, bro. I'm trapped.
Well, even JTG, he does say in this, to get to the contract class, to train with the contract talent, you really had to prove yourself. And then there was also a large tuition fee. So at that point, you know, he's got to get there. He wants this thing. He's going to pay his own way to have that opportunity. He makes a phone call to his mother and says, you know, straight up, I've got to do this. This is his quote here. Yo, I've got this much money and I need this much money to get to the next class. And she was like, I'm going to take money out of my savings. I believe in you. You can do this.
And isn't that such more of a story where you don't want to have to rely on your mom, who's probably strapped for cash too, but you want to make your family's life better by getting there and accomplishing that goal. You're paying Rip $2,000 a year. You get the chance to go to Al's. I think Al was charging $3,000, and that's just because you're non-contract. Because if you're contract, you don't have to pay anything. So OVW is working their mid-card guys. Sure, you're getting a college level education from masters of the game, but dude, you got to fucking pay for your apartment, have a day job, pay for your training, pay for diet, gym, and all that shit. Meanwhile, these guys are getting signed out of NCAAs, don't know a fucking thing about wrestling. Didn't take a 20-hour bus ride, aren't living on somebody's floor, have a fucking nice gated community condo with the rest of the.
I was just going to ask you about that. Like, what was the difference in the living situations?
Oh, shit, bro. We go to parties like, okay, so Major Brothers and fucking and Foxy and all them live in the nice fucking $1,200, a month apartments. So they share or whatever. We live in the fucking Bardstown Forest, shit burner, Armenians all around, fucking $400 apartment, $430, and 2-3 of us do an apartment. And yeah, we're living the same existence, setting up the same ring. But dude, the standard, they don't have to have day jobs. We all do. I'm working at GE, I'm teaching acting classes and doing everything that they're doing. So there's the have and the have nots there. And those of us at the home of the hungry that are truly hungry are there on our own dimes trying to get 1-2 of those contract spots that are so rare to come across. And then you have feel bad for the girls because they're doing the same things. And then they have to go get 10 grand in breast implants to impress Johnny Ace to almost get that fucking spot, bro. It could be even harder on the chicks to some degree. So that people will never know. And it's rare because OVW and FCW, NXT are the only 2 places that are kind of like that. And FCW even wasn't because there was no underclass of non-contract guys or beginners. And that's what Danny needed to have, because there's plenty of guys who would take Nick Dinsmore, Joey Mercury's beginners class and never even make it to Rips. They were just there to try and live their little wrestling dream. And so be it. Like, let Nick and Joey and Capitelli make that money, and Mondo, because they deserve to, while they're trying to make it to where they want to go as well. Were there players get to hang with them?
Were there any of the contracted people, immediately come in, they're going right to Al's class, that kind of looked and saw, hell, man, these guys, the beasts, the Hamins, they're smoking us. We gotta get the best from both classes.
Not Hamin. Hamin wasn't smoking nobody in the ring.
Well, I mean, for the character work and all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, dude, JTG is absolutely one. Ryback would come and train. Idol Stevens will show up and train with Rip, because when you're training with Rip, and I'm not trying to say Al isn't giving you pearls, but 2 different.
Well, as you said, they're teaching 2 different styles. I mean, Al's getting you ready for WWE style television, where Rip's giving you the fundamentals, the basics of it.
And it's all about reps, man. And those guys who really want it, and know, because what's great about NCAA athletes, I don't want to say shit on them fully, they're coachable and they have work ethic. And if they really want this, they're going to look at it with all the opportunities they have to learn from as many high-level coaches as possible. And those with the work ethic who really want it, and EC3 and those type guys, are going to do whatever it takes to get those reps in, because they're only going to improve that much quicker and retain that knowledge for when they need it. So, and then there's other guys who want to wear Nike Shocks and Affliction shirts and act like they're fucking over as shit and spend all their money on Tom or whatever that Ed Hardy fucking bullshit phase was, all dressing like douchebags so they can go down to fucking 4th Street Live and hang out and be part of the cool kids club, So, and that's what it was. Jay was working down there at 19. 4th Street Live, in Louisville's like 11 bars that are down inside. It looks like you're on the street, but it's this covered area where you just go party, and you're down there being a superstar. Some guys fall in love with that and miss the wrestling train where their mind should be, So if you wanted that highest level education, you could get it. And if you were a contract guy already, you should, because the rest of it's free to you. I even look back now as a non-contract and go, fuck, I thought I was too over just being a Rip Rogers guy. I should have fucking been going to beginners class as well. My spine would have been completely fucked at the time. But the fact that I didn't take more classes with Dinsmore, Mercury, and Capitelli is one thing I regret. Like, I was like, fuck, I could have had a whole nother year of knowledge under my belt earlier,
When you get out and about, you're down there at 4th Street, just going around Louisville. What kind of celebrity were you guys on the different levels? I mean, did Louisville kind of take over? I mean, a lot of people recognize you immediately when you're out and about, or were there certain spots more so? Or
some places, yeah, because we are on TV every week and they know what's going on. And then some people are like the Louisville fans, like as hillbilly and as old fat redneck as they are, and they're not New York fans, like just like the same old shit works. They've seen it all. That's the problem. So the fans don't really give a fuck because they've seen Brock, Cena, Batista, they've seen them all. So what helped with me was obviously gas prices increasing and in my time while I was there to get heat. But a lot of like, you'd think it'd be younger people, but it's not. It's a lot of older hillbillies that'll see you at a Kroger and be like, fuck you, Ben Hamin. But when you're out on the town and we're going to 4th Street Live and there's, CM Punk and there's fucking Crime Time and here's the Divas are there, Deuce and Domino or whatever. Like people would know them from before and now they see him on TV. So the rest of us would just be over clipped up. Or we go to Rock Bar and WWE be in town and Jericho will buy out the VIP room and get 6 or 7 bottles of Grey Goose. That's when you're like, this shit is fucking over. I don't mind paying rip. I feel like a stud. I'm hanging with fucking Jericho and, and the Miz or whoever's in town or whatever. That's when it really, when we were at our peak, it's Six Flags, the Summer Sizzler series show. So we're in the area or at the park and people are kind of marking out for us. So it always feels good. I mean, it's fun to be recognized as a little celebrity in your small pond there.
Nice. Any other big headlines you want to touch on before we wrap this thing up?
Oh man, this is one of the kind of locker rooms I like. I don't need to fucking run down a ton of headlines, bro. We're just talking the biz and the shiz on with my Briz here on Monday Locker Room. That's what it's about, dude. Not always can you believe what he said, she said? Yeah, I can believe it. Everybody's a fucking carny moron in this shit.
I think that's a big, when we talk about helping grow the business, it's not getting away from the nitpicky bullshit stuff like that and talking about how things really work and getting down to the ground level.
Sorry to go back, because one of the things you're like with Jay's thing is like, it's not like that anymore. And he's right. It's way less. There's the little heat tests, but these kids who've been signed or these indie guys from ROH who got signed and went up did change the game. I think New Day changed the culture as well, but they'll never know what real throat cutting was and like real politics at Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Brett level. That kind of ended 2000. It started to end 2008, 2009-ish.
What changed that? Well, I mean, what kills that off?
WWE leaving OVW and starting.
Is it because it's so close to the headquarters now that they can micromanage every little thing?
It's because a lot of indie guys who didn't come up in the cutthroat, get ready to deal with JBL and whoever the fuck era that I did. We were the last class of kind of having to do that. When they started FCW, it was all of them together again, but there wasn't nearly the structure that OVW had. There wasn't a tiered system with contract, non-contract guys. It was like, here's your gay porn name, go cut your hair, and now go paper the town, and we're going to work out in this fucking warehouse. Like, that's all they really had to do. Like, and by that time, a lot of those guys who were upper level politics players on the main roster were ending their career. So all these kids came up and they're more into video games, Pokemon cards, and fucking selfies. And Undertaker, Bret Hart, and fucking Mr. Perfect are into Somas, Jack Daniels, and fucking hoes. Like that's the difference. You have a complete generation of man children as opposed to what real men were. And now there's none of that going on as much. I mean, it's still there, obviously, with the heat with Charlotte and all that bullshit. But the set somebody up to cut their throat, that shit doesn't happen nearly as much, if at all, anymore. And they really don't even know how to play the game to do it. When I hear those words, it's all about the game and how you play it. It's all about control and if you can take it, dude. That's not like, sure, that's a whatever lyric from there, but that rings so true for that entire generation, bro. And by any means necessary, if that's stab your buddy up in the back, take his woman, and do whatever it takes to fuck with his head to get him out of the spot so you can be in that top spot. That's how those guys were working. It doesn't go down like that as much anymore.
I do want to let everybody know, I did look this up. Sinclair does have an office in Mongolia, so yes, they are Mongols.
Okay. Awesome. Oh, y'all, man, good to be back with you, RBV, man. Hopefully everything's going good with your next shows and getting everything going well that way. I'm glad you're working with War. That's a great,
Well, Tom's we haven't done anything, on the front line together, but he's just a great mentor for many of the promoters in the area. He's always open for a conversation, to take a phone call. Others around here too. You always hear about how cutthroat different promotions in the same areas are in their territories and all of that. But hell, man, I got to be honest. When I jumped into this thing, I made phone calls to make sure things were cool, where I could run, ask for advice, ask for talents, ask for help. Obviously, big time up there with War. Roger Ruffin, who has great ties with Rip. Rip gave him his break in professional wrestling out in the Kansas territory. He runs the Northern Wrestling Federation here. He's been very helpful. Of course, the great Cody Hawk, the Hall of Famer. He's always there to answer a phone call when I need it. And
that's a great list of fucking brain trust to have around you when you got a question, man. I'm glad you're soaking in all that info and applying it. That's the biggest thing.
And of course, everybody, the growing tree or the learning tree that I've been able to grow under here with the Hamin Media Group. Hey, I'll be honest, the last show, gate wasn't great. We went into an area of town that hasn't had professional wrestling for a while, that has struggled when it had it. I still believe in it. We went in there, the talent-wise, show went off great. Beast did incredible. That put together from a show perspective performance, the best that we have done. All the talents went out there and killed it. I failed a little bit for them on the gate. The hardest lesson I learned was don't ever depend on a gate.
I already thought you were over. So in a new town, when you're building it like that, and the lesson is I have to find more group to sell to, whether it's Boy Scouts, whether it's a local sports team, softball teams, and make those teams actually as a fundraiser your advocates, so you can then do the nuclear explosion of let me get tickets into these 10 kids' hands and they each sell 10. Now I know I've got the 100.
Drastically upping those efforts for our next show coming up. We're ready to launch, have the date, the details for the show. That's going to be coming out next week.
Reality is you need not only do you have a man beast, you need a third in command that you strategize that with, and that is specifically their job, because you can help support that effort, but you have a lot of other things going on. What you need is another hand.
What we have done there, Beast he's going to be the producer. I do have another guy that is going to worry about facilities, making sure bankroll, things like that, kind of handle that kind of office side of it. And then I am going to fully 100% focus.
Kevin, right? Is that the tech?
Neil's our guy.
Sorry. I don't know.
So I'm going to go full focus now on making sure that we're in the community. There are all of our promotions, that live event experience, where my expertise lie, and that's where my passion is to focus. But it was, it was enough. It was such of a great show, though. The building we were at, they were so impressed. They see the potential in it. They're buying into the next show. So already ahead of the game on that one. And not to make excuses, but another important thing out there when you're running shows, I learned this one, make sure you know everything going on. I'm an idiot and ran a show on Sweetest Day, where it's the busiest wedding day of the year and people are occupied on Saturday.
It was probably a mistake we had to push the show from the 23rd to the 30th for a building, but we went through the same thing on this show. One of our best shows, lower numbers than we had hoped. The walk up at the end was good, but we would have liked to seen double that. But guess what? That's why they call it building a territory, building a town. Now that hopefully your show was so good, those there will say, boy, you guys missed a hell of a show to their friends, and that they'll come next time. But you also have to fan those flames. It just doesn't happen organically that way. And whatever radio DJs you can get in your back pocket, all that shit. I don't got to explain it. I've done it 100 times. But we're going to keep working, man. Keep building on, adding on watch, because there's going to be plenty of workers coming to your territory this spring who, don't you know, they're over because they were on TV. Just ask them. Y'all, you can go to prowrestlingtees.com/Ben Hamin, thebrosters.com to get that Vince Russo bro coffee. And I know I got to do some cameos. That sub requested one, but I'm not sure what I'm cutting the promo on. But cameo.com/Ben Hamin for all your holiday fun promos, shutting down all of your festivities. And channelattitude.com, you guys, the place to exclusively get Hamin Media Group shows. I know some people are like, where is it on Patreon? Well, Patreon's changing to what I want it to be artistically. The wrestling shows, the HMG shows are all going to be at channelattitude.com exclusively, and adding more shows. We're happy to have Brad Shepard on board. The Rampage show with Jargo and Enright is doing well, so I got to get that up there. But
outside of ours, I'm excited for Russo's new Attitude breakdown.
Absolutely. EC3 and Al Snow coming to Russo brand as well, man. I mean, we've been wanting to build this network. Obviously this summer, there's a lot of hiccups with the hacking stuff, and it seems like we're back on track now. And with all this talent release, who knows who else is coming to our brands and will be featuring here, because they're going to be wanting to keep their face in the spotlight when there's a lot of competition for that as well. So appreciate everybody subscribing to the beautiful people, Stevie Ray TV, the A Show. These talents that we've been able to work with are already way ahead of the game of where everybody else is going to try and be in the next year. So thank you for subscribing to all that we got going on, you guys. We really appreciate that support as independent creators. It's a wide landscape, and there's a lot of places to spend your money, but we're glad you're doing it with the professionals who lived it instead of some 5-star phonies. RBV, you all good, man?
I think one thing I want to throw out there, give some props to these guys. This Saturday, November 6th, I'll be here in the Cincinnati area. This is a great honor. I'm going to be doing the ring announcing for Ascend Pro Wrestling. They are headed towards the Guinness Book of World Records. They are going for the biggest wrestling match in history. It's going to be a 120 plus individual battle royal, 3 rings for this thing. They're pulling it off this Saturday. So they can get this thing done, man. It's going to be a hell of an accomplishment, and I'm honored to be included to be the ring announcer there.
Everybody's got a $10 payday on that one. Holy shit, 120 guys on the show.
Hey, so those wrestlers do a lot of crazy things for you.
Yeah, man. I'm surprised you're not in one of the 120, man. But good for you. I'm glad you're performing, bud.
I did pitch it. I said, let me do some ring announcing while I'm in the match.
Yeah, go through it. Just shit can. Don't break the mic, buddy. All right, y'all, you guys, that's your Monday Locker Room live here, Ben Hamin channel, twitch.tv/Hamin Media for all the watch-alongs. Appreciate you supporting us, and glad to be back with you, RBV. Big shout out to my Man Beast. A little bit under it right now, so we'll check in on him. I'll be recording the SmackDown review here pretty soon with the Stevie Richards, not live. Appreciate you guys subscribing to Russo Patreon as well. Master Shoot Theater, a lot of fun the last week. Got a lot of great responses. So if you haven't been caught up on that, you can go to Russo TWC on Patreon and check that out too. But for RBV, for the rest of the HMG crew, it's Monday Locker Room kicking it off live. Let's get raw, infidels. Yeah.
All right, so that we're still live.